What's up, everybody? Bootsy Greenwood here, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about an idea that I had about the book of Job, which I always have thought was one of the cruelest books ever in human history, and it's also, oddly enough, I've learned, one of the oldest. I personally have really resented this view for a long time and thought, why would you trick somebody? Why would you manipulate somebody? Why would you do dirty things to this poor individual who clearly loves and worships you? And it just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It seemed very cruel. So if you're not familiar with the story, I'll go over it real quick. There's a guy named Job, and he has a farm and lots of stuff, and then flash forward to heaven. God is hanging out, and his opposition says that, hey, your guy Job down there, who apparently loves you and would do anything for you, I bet he's just playing that game just so you keep giving him stuff. That's basically the bet. And so God says, all right, cool. Well, you're on. Let's dance. So he starts, really punishing Job and humiliating him. He gets all kinds of sickness. He gets lesions. His servants die. His sheep die. Everything he has. His whole family gets destroyed. His house, everything. And at first, Job just continues praising the Lord. That always intrigued me too. But ultimately, God keeps picking on him because he keeps getting basically dared to by the opposition. Until finally Job says, you know what, I've had it. You owe me an explanation. This is just not cool, bro. And at that point, God sort of gives him an explanation. He says, look, dude, I got a lot on my plate. Okay, there's a lot going on here. I don't necessarily have to give you any explanation, but here's a look in a day in the life, right? Like undercover boss kind of thing. Here's what I do, and it's a lot. It is no joke. There's details in the world that you couldn't possibly ever hope to comprehend, and if it wasn't for me, none of this would exist anyway. So just keeping that in mind. And then God restores Job's vast fortune and blesses him, which on the outside looking in seems like this punishment reward thing, right? And so that's how I used to interpret the book. But I think I've made a little bit of a discovery by exploring this idea, first of all, of my conception of the world or justice or God or what have you, and also by exploring the connection to infinite, to source, and how precious and special and unique that is. I think that the real point of this book is not how much power God has over you and that he could make you rich one day and then poor the next, or him being unjust or any of those, type of interpretations. I think it shines a light on the connection that we have to God. And ultimately, Job really focuses on that. He appreciates it. He's not neglectful of God and continues to sharpen his connection, that sort of umbilical cord to the universe, instead of succumbing and all of that and cutting that life force off, which tends to be what happens a lot in our society. And even by hearing the story, it's tempting to be like, what? But it's a story, right? It's not something that necessarily literally happened. So what is the moral of this story, right? If it's from a hero with 1,000 faces. I think the hero and the big takeaway from this story is that nothing is more precious or important than our connection to the divine. And especially right now, I think this is an important message to hear. There's nothing that should be valued or could be valued more. God could give you 1,000,000 things or take it all away overnight, and that doesn't matter because ultimately we're still connected with that infinite source, that the all, whatever you want to call it, right? It doesn't have to be God. I know that's kind of like a term that is triggering for some people, but I don't think it matters. Fill in the blank with whatever, your world, nature, what have you. But that's really the point. We're not necessarily supposed to even share all of the vast masterpieces that we can create, with this connection to source, this creative energy, who instead of making one tiger lily makes fields of them and cannot help itself. We should nurture that connection, and it's not necessarily something that we need to or have to share with anybody else, right? Like, it's a sacred thing. It's something that's very personal, and I think that has a lot to do with the moral or the interpretation of this particular book. So I hope that maybe helps a little bit. I don't know. It's always left a bad taste in my mouth, that story, for so long, but I really do feel like I've gotten a glimpse out of it, because previously really thinking that anything creative that I did, I had to share. But actually I've learned that it is not that way. And there is a value beyond this external value or validation from other human beings or any of this external stuff. What really, really matters truly is nurturing that connection that we have to the divine. And with that, I will leave you be. Check out my latest offer. It is in the description. Give me a shout, say hello, and send me a message. I got some cool announcements coming up I'm really stoked to share. So please, subscribe if you haven't, and all that good stuff too. Peace, much love. See you soon.